If you don't want to grapple with females, how should I communicate this as a newbie? That's from Raf. Raf, I think you should tell your instructor, hey, coach, listen, no offense to anybody here, but I don't wrestle with women. And for whatever reason, you don't have to give a reason.
So this is Coach Firas Zahabi. Um, Came across this video in my feed recently. Thought it was pretty good. Very thought provoking. Guy makes some interesting arguments, some funny statements. Kind of wanted to go over some of it and share also my experience with rolling and also just sparring with women. Okay, rolling is a jiu-jitsu term for sparring, basically. Just grappling, no strikes or anything. But I've also got Muay Thai, kickboxing, and Taekwondo experience sparring women. So I'll talk about that too. I got some, maybe some interesting stories, maybe some kind of fucked up stories. I don't know. You be the judge. But it's an interesting question. I mean, what do you do? I agree with what it's saying here. If you don't want to roll with women, and you're just uncomfortable, it doesn't really matter what the reasoning is. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, and that's kind of the bottom line here. Now, personally, I think you should give sparring or rolling with women in general a chance. I think Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu especially is a very important self-defense art for women to learn. I mean, it's going to be very effective against defending against like sexual assaults, stuff like that, where you're like, being assaulted on the ground, stuff like this, or somebody's trying to grope you. I think that's very important for women to learn this. So if you don't allow women to spar or roll with you, you're kind of denying them the chance to understand the difference of strength, generally speaking, between a man and woman. If you just have women spar women all the time, they're going to get used to sparring a woman who might be, weaker or smaller than a man. But if you get them sparring with men, they're going to understand, okay, this is like a different story. This is a little more serious. This person could really do some harm to me. How do I react to this? I need to learn, how to deal with this particular situation, because I might face this in the future, and a lot of women do. A lot of women, I mean, pretty much half the women I know have been sexually harassed or assaulted in some way. It's fucked up, but that's reality, And maybe, if they learn some high quality Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or some kind of martial art, they could have protected themselves better in those situations. But anyway, let's keep going.
I have my own personal reasons. Like, I'll tell you something. I personally, as a trainer, as a coach, I never wrestle with my female students. Okay, I don't grapple with them. Now, one time I was sitting down on the mat, and some girl walked up to me who was from like another school, another club, and she asked me, "Hey, would you like to roll?" I said, "I'm sorry, no, I can't roll with you." She's like, "Why?" I said, "Look, I don't roll with women. No offense, but I don't roll with women." And she's like, "You're joking, right?" And she got offended. And I'm like, "No, I'm not joking. I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you, but I don't roll with women. That's my prerogative. Why?" She tells me, "You know what? I just came from this other gym." She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I had to leave it. Why?" She goes, "I had an affair with the instructor, and now it turned the gym upside down." So I found that kind of weird.
So if that's true, that's pretty crazy. I don't know why you would tell somebody that. Especially in this context. I mean, they're going to make them not want to spar with you even more. Or even have you at their gym if you're some kind of gym homewrecker. That's not the type of person you want around. But let's keep going anyway. He makes some pretty funny points here that I want to go over.
She was shocked I wouldn't roll with her. Then she was offended I wouldn't roll with her. I had to kind of like apologize to her, which I don't feel like I should have to apologize, but I did apologize to her. I said, "Look, I'm sorry. I hope you don't offend you, but I can't roll with you." Then she proceeds to tell me that by her rolling with her other instructor, She ended up having a sexual relationship with him, and I believe he was married or whatnot. I didn't get.
So this is super interesting. So he's saying, if this story is true, I'm not calling him a liar. I'm just saying, he might be embellishing. Who knows? People say, people use stories, maybe embellish them to make a point. Everybody does that. But he's saying basically this lady told him that she was rolling with her past instructor, and the rolling itself led to them, I guess, having an affair, having sex. Which just sounds like the start to like a really bad porno or something, you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine, like, let me set the scene. It's a private lesson. Instructor is in the gym alone with this beautiful woman. They start rolling, he's teaching her, how to escape mount or something. And it's okay, you get on top of me. I'm gonna do a reversal on you. Boom. Get into a reversal. Now they're in guard. The guard position, right? Which is a very similar position to missionary. And she groans. Oh. All of a sudden, he notices her voluptuous breast popping from her gi. You know what I mean? Ah, shit. So that's just a really funny thing to me that this person would say the rolling itself led to sex. It just seems kind of silly. Could be true. I'm not saying it's not true, but it's just kind of a silly notion. And it seems like this is what he's arguing now, is that, like, I don't roll with women because rolling with a woman is similar to having sex, which I guess, again, like, there's positions like guard that do resemble, like, a missionary and stuff like that, So I kind of get it, but I don't know. It seems weird that somebody like Firas Zahabi, who, by the way, if you don't know who this is, he's a very famous coach. Has coached tons of fighters, has a huge gym in Canada. I forget where in Canada right now, but probably the most famous fighter he's coached is Georges St. Pierre. So it's interesting that he's kind of, sexualized his martial art in a way here. But let's keep going.
The story, or whatever it may be, or he had another girl now, or something like that. Honestly, I wasn't interested too much in the story, but there was a social conflict now between them. So she has to change gym, come to my gym now. So she's training with me, and now she's asking if she could roll with me. And I was like, listen, personally, I don't do that. Now I know some guys out there.
Also, so this lady A says, "Oh yeah, I had to come to a new gym because I rolled with my old instructor and we ended up having sex, and now she's asking this guy, her new instructor, to roll with her." To me, it's almost like she's asking to have sex with this guy, like she's coming on to him or something. So it's definitely weird. I would not want to, roll or spar this lady. I'd probably ask her to leave because she's out of her freaking mind.
Be like, I know some of you are gonna be like, Coach, I roll with women all the time, and I never have an issue. And when I roll, it's strictly jujitsu. It's strictly jujitsu, and I never have an impure thought. Now, you are the holy. You guys, you group, this group of men here that I hear, say this. You guys are the holiest. You guys are. I look up at you. I look up.
So he says this a few times that, this notion of kind of like wanting to avoid impure thoughts or something, right? And that there's a type of man who's like holier than thou, kind of like like a male feminist, like white knight type that has like no impure thoughts or whatever, and it's all strictly jiu-jitsu, This is also a strange point. He makes this a few times. I'm gonna go ahead and play so you can hear like the totality of this kind of line of thought here.
I look up to you and I say, these men are angelic. They're angelic. They're so pure of thought that if they roll with a beautiful, attractive girl, not the least bit of, no, they're dead inside. Let's say. Now, I can understand if you tell me, Coach, the girls are not attractive. I have no thought of them being I have no sexual thoughts. And I would say, look, that makes sense. The girl's not attractive, but you have to understand. I can't go around saying, hey, you're ugly enough for me to roll with. No, you're pretty enough. You're too pretty, or you wouldn't do that, right? You'd bar them all. You'd say, look, I don't roll with girls. It would be the equivalent of a girl saying, look, I don't roll with men. I would understand that. It's not a problem. If a girl walked up to me in my class and said, Coach, I just want to warn you, I don't roll with women. Excuse me, I don't roll with men. Okay, let's say a girl came up to me. I'll say it's your prerogative, no problem. Roll with the girls, not a problem. And if you feel uncomfortable with rolling with anybody, you don't have to. Now, one time I had.
And that's honestly where I agree with him completely. And that should be the main point here is if you're uncomfortable with rolling with anybody, just talk to your coach, your instructor, whatever, and tell them. The reason doesn't matter. Hell, I've refused to roll with somebody just because they smelled bad. Straight up. This guy, he used to come to the gym and smell like freaking trash. I don't know if he just never showered or what. And I was like, I'm not gonna spar with this guy again. You know? Or I've refused to spar with guys who just go too hard. Guys who just will try to fucking slam on your neck or something and take it way too seriously. Try to hurt you. I'm like, not sparring with this guy either. So there's a multitude of reasons why you wouldn't want to spar or roll with somebody. But I think, just personally, I don't really care about Firas's opinion. He can have his opinion. Everybody has opinions, they differ, whatever. It's fine. But yeah, I don't have any problem with rolling with women generally. The notion of rolling with opposite sex at first was odd to me, and also the stories about that, because it did not go well at first. But like anything, once you kind of get used to it, the fear kind of goes away, you know. But the guy's got some weird reasonings, man. This whole thing about oh yeah, if you're a man and you can roll with a woman with no impure thoughts, and then oh, you're just this holy person or whatever. He's kind of making fun of men who roll with women. The impure thoughts aren't the problem, you know. This reminds me of a time when a friend of mine was talking to me about how he worked at a gym, and it was a pretty exclusive gym. They mostly trained athletes, professional or collegiate. And it was a strength conditioning kind of gym for athletes. And so obviously you're gonna have a bunch of extremely fit, attractive people there, And there'll be women with, wearing leggings, sports bras, stuff like this, that are just top of the line, fit as hell, beautiful people. So it's obviously, if you're a heterosexual man with, who's young and fit, lots of testosterone, you're gonna be, physically attracted to these people. And he was he told me he felt bad because he was attracted to these women, and he's oh, I was just, it's so distracting because their asses are popping out and popping out of their freaking leggings and stuff. And he felt bad because he was in a relationship at the time. He felt bad. He had these thoughts, and I was well, look, man, you're not gonna act on these thoughts, right? And he's no, of course not. I'm okay, so what's the problem? The problem is you're just having thoughts, or is the problem that you're just stressed about these thoughts? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. You're gonna have thoughts, just the fact that you're a heterosexual man with high testosterone, you're gonna have these thoughts when you see a woman with a big round ass right in your face. You know what I mean? You can't avoid that. It's practically impossible unless you're a freaking monk or something. It's not worth the time. What do you really gotta do? You gotta go to a Zen meditation retreat for months to to kind of wash these impure, so-called impure thoughts that are here for what? You know what I mean? Again, you're not gonna act on these thoughts, so what does it matter? Just accept that, you're heterosexual, you're healthy, you have high testosterone, these things are going to happen. They're outside of your control, you know? Now, if you keep trying to actively avoid these thoughts, that's just going to exacerbate the issue and cause you more stress, you know? And that's like the real problem, is what I told him, you know? That was my opinion, anyway. And I think it helped him out. Okay, same thing here. You know, you could be rolling with somebody who you're attracted to. And another point is, what about gay men? What about bisexual people? You know, are you are you not gonna roll with should gay men not even come and roll with other men? Do the gay men need to roll with women only? But then who do they compete against if they decide to take jiu-jitsu seriously? They gotta compete with other men, right? Unless they're like, I don't know, transgender or something. They can maybe try to compete with women and beat the shit out of them, but that's not very fair, you know? So it's just kind of impractical to me to just be like, yeah, I'm not gonna roll with anybody who I'm physically attracted to. Because I'm afraid that maybe it might lead to action. You just gotta trust yourself, you know? This is what I told my friend. You just gotta trust yourself that you're not gonna act upon it. And also, you gotta realize that there's two parties need to consent here. You know, even if you try to do something, they would still have to consent to you doing that, you know what I mean? It's like a two-way street. So if you're gonna be a dumbass, you know, and like try to, I don't know, do something while you're rolling, or, you know, do something while you're training somebody, that's on you, you know? But they have to, you know, reciprocate somehow that it's a problem. Okay, now if you're worried about maybe, I don't know, like yourself being teased or like sexually harassed by this person, that's like another story too. My point is, man, the impure thoughts aren't inherently like evil or like the problem, you know? It's more so, in my opinion, that the attitude toward the impure thoughts is the issue. And kind of, you know, ruminating on these thoughts too much just causes you to think more about them and can exacerbate the issue. Okay, let's keep listening. We're almost done here. Then I'll tell some funny, or I don't know if they're funny or fucked up stories.
An instructor of mine get angry with one of the students, and I asked. He called me up and he's like, "Hey, this guy says he doesn't roll with girls," and he's like, "What should I do with him? Like, I want to kick him out." I'm like, "No, don't kick him out. The guy could do whatever he wants. Doesn't want to roll with a girl. That's fine." I'm like, "Hey, do you know that I don't? Do you ever see me roll with a girl?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I never thought of." I'm like, "Guys, that's a perfectly legitimate reason for why you don't want to roll with someone. Perfectly legitimate." Now, for the angelic group, for you guys up there, like, I gotta look at you up on a pedestal. You guys can roll with the most beautiful women all day and all night, and never an impure thought enter your mind. This is how pure.
And again, it's like, no, I'm gonna have impure thoughts because I'm a fucking man who's attracted to women. You know what I mean? But again, why does it matter as long as I don't act on them? You know, or this other person doesn't act on them if they have any impure thoughts too, you know? If there's no action, there's only thought, what does it fucking matter? And once you get adapted to rolling or sparring with this person and getting to know them, I think those thoughts will, you know, diminish. You know, they won't be so much in the forefront of your mind, especially if this is a skilled person and they're like, you know, kind of kicking your ass and you gotta defend yourself, and you're definitely not gonna be thinking about, you know, how good they look when they're trying to armbar your ass or choke your ass out. You know what I mean?
Hard you are. I haven't reached this level. Okay, I haven't reached this level, so I'm not even gonna attempt to copy you. You guys are far above me. You guys are far superior in spiritual understanding and purity, mental purity. You guys are above me by far, by far. I can't even look at you how high you are. No, I would never think of this. The girl's mountain on top of you. No, not a single impure thought has entered my mind. Come on, boys. Come on. Have you been castrated? Are you one of those guys who runs so much he's lost all his testosterone? You know that, you know, long distance runners, extreme long distance runners, they have the testosterone of a castrated man, like equivalent. Some, I shouldn't say all, but some. You have to be very careful with that long distance running. You know, don't take it too far. So this is my opinion on the matter.
It's also a very strange comment. He's saying that it seems kind of to be belittling people who I don't know who do spar with women. So it's a little strange to me, but it's whatever. Again, I always say, guys, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got them. I'm not really offended. I'm not at all offended actually with anything he said. And I appreciate that he shares his opinion. I think it's interesting. Now let me go ahead and tell a couple of stories, personal stories, my experience sparring with women. Okay, so the first time was probably Taekwondo when I was like a teenager. Okay, and I had a spar. I think it was with like an assistant instructor who was a woman, older, maybe like her 30s or something, and I was like maybe 17 or 18 at the time, and that was pretty normal. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like grappling; it was like kicking basically. So pretty freaking normal. Nothing out of the ordinary. However, when I started doing jujitsu, now we're getting to like wrestling, and again, there's a lot of positions that are similar to sexual positions. Then when I had to spar with or roll with the first woman, I was nervous, and also this woman was the girlfriend of a friend of mine who went to the gym too, and he was there, so I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be so. I was like super nervous, right? It's like a friend of mine's girlfriend, and I was just gonna be like on top of me and me on top of her, just kind of like a weird situation. So I didn't know how to approach it, but my idea was kind of like Firas said, was to kind of like dead into myself, like kind of just go zombie mode and kind of be like all business, try to just like shake any of these thoughts out of my head. Not that I was like, attract her that much. I mean, she was an attractive person, like not a bad looking person, but I wasn't like horny for her or anything. It wasn't about to like pop a boner or anything, But it was still like a weird situation for me, just like the thought of wrestling with like a woman who's the girlfriend of somebody I know, and it went really poorly. I tried to treat her basically like I would a man, or like a man who was maybe smaller than me or weaker than me. So I didn't go like too terribly hard, but also what happened at the end during the roll was I got her in a triangle choke. Okay, and then something happened where I guess she probably tried to escape, and then it went south for her, and I ended up mounting her in the triangle choke. So now, basically, I was on top of her with like my crotch in her face, and I was kind of, I didn't want to like go too hard, like squeeze too hard. I was trying to give her like a chance to escape, but she was kind of shutting down. Okay, so I just kind of squeezed my legs together. She tapped out, and that was it. I got off her. I kind of like did the whole jujitsu thing of like slapping hands, slapping fist. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, good roll, good roll. But I could tell she was upset because basically my freaking, I don't even think I was wearing a cup at the time, which is even worse. So basically, like, other than like my shorts and underwear, pretty much the whole weight of like my freaking sweaty balls and dick were like right in her face. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a fucked up situation if you think about it like that. Which I think she did, Now, this wasn't like her first day in jiu-jitsu or anything. She had done it before, I think, more than I had at that point. But I think it was one of her first times sparring with a man other than her boyfriend. And it clearly upset her. Like, she seemed like she was about to cry or something after. I'm not sure. I can't tell you exactly why I didn't like ask about it, didn't inquire about it. It was super awkward and kind of somewhat traumatizing for both of us. Because here I am, with my friggin', dick and balls in this girl's face, and then afterwards she's like, on the verge of tears. I don't know if she was upset about that or upset about just, doing poorly in the role or something or what it was, but it made me not want to roll with a woman ever again. And I had a good enough instructor that kind of saw this, I guess, and saw both of our reactions, and he noticed in the future that I avoided rolling with women. And what he did, to kind of, you know, give me some kind of exposure therapy, if you will, was he had a daughter that was really good at jiu-jitsu, right? And he made me spar with her one day, roll with her, one day, and I was like, ah, shit, this is even worse than me rolling with the guy's, girlfriend. Now I got to roll with the instructor's freaking daughter, you know. If I mess this up, he's gonna like kill me. This guy was like, twice my size, black belt. Um, but the thing was, she was so good, there was no way in hell I had time to worry about, you know, her being a woman, me being a man. Because I had to fucking defend myself, dude. She was kicking my ass. So it was very good exposure therapy for me. And after that, I had no problem rolling with any other women. God, I can't talk right now. Sorry. It's getting late up here. I had no problem after that rolling with women ever again, and no issues. Nobody on the verge of tears after, nothing. Okay. It was all just kind of normal from there. Okay. And I think, I don't know, maybe I'm sure I'd probably spar with some people who I was attracted to, but it didn't really matter because it's not like I was going to act on it, you know? And I will say most of the time I was in jiu-jitsu, I was like seeing another, like a girl or something, so I wasn't like trying to form a relationship with like anybody I was sparring with, so I was already kind of in one. Uh, so yeah, it just wasn't an issue. That's my experience. Obviously, it's a unique experience. And again, the bottom line, like Firas said, a few times at the beginning, in the middle of this video, the bottom line is do whatever you want to do. If you're very uncomfortable with something, such as, rolling with women or the opposite sex, somebody you're attracted to, they just don't do it. It's fine. But you don't know what you're missing out on, And you could be denying this person some, valuable experience, valuable sparring experience, So just my two cents, if you will. No, again, I'm not at all offended by anything Firas Zahabi said. Like, I mostly agree with him. I just think his reasoning is kind of funny, and I kind of wanted to deconstruct that a little bit. I thought it was interesting, and yeah, I don't know, man. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I think it's a good experience, especially for women, to be rolling and sparring with men. I think that's a very, very good experience to have. And in general, it's to be sparring or rolling with somebody who's bigger and stronger than you is like a good thing to do. Makes you realize how important strength and size is. It's very important, guys, especially in jiu-jitsu. Okay, especially in grappling. You got somebody on top of you who's like 100 pounds heavier than you. You're gonna fucking feel it. You're gonna be like, damn, I gotta get better. I gotta get more skill. I gotta get stronger, so I can deal with this and overcome this kind of obstacle. Anyway, that's about it, guys. Take it easy. Peace out. I wanted to add one more thing. Just got out of the freaking shower, which is why my hair is wet. So these are literally my shower thoughts before I go to bed. I was thinking about the concept of, impure thoughts. Frost didn't exactly define what that is, but I assume, from the context that, for instance, when you're rolling with a woman, you start having sexual thoughts, those are like impure thoughts, right? Those are like undesired thoughts. You don't want to have any sexual thoughts in your head while you're sparring or rolling, right? Here's the thing about thinking, about thoughts in general, especially intrusive or like undesired, unwanted thoughts. You kind of to some degree have a choice of, what to do with intrusive thought, right? And I've dealt with this before. I've got I've had anxiety issues, ADHD issues, stuff like this, so I know about intrusive thoughts, undesired thoughts. Now, these thoughts can either, appear and kind of just float on by and kind of dissipate into the ether of your subconscious or whatever. Or, you can acknowledge it's there. You can say some thought pops up like, whoa, look at those titties or whatever. You can acknowledge that thought and allow it to naturally kind of dissipate in your mind. Or you can cling on to it, you can grab it and be like, listen, bitch, you little fucker. I don't want you in my head. You're bad. You're an impure thought. Fuck you. Get on the head. I don't want to think about this shit. But what you've done now is you've picked that thought up, right? And you've clinged onto it. You've allowed it to linger in your mind. And you've given power to it. Okay? And you can't simply not think about something, right? Here's a thought experiment. If I tell you right now, don't think about a door, you're gonna immediately think about a door, imagine a door in your head or something. Okay, you can't not think about something, especially after the thought's already been in your head. But what you can do is, again, simply kind of acknowledge it's there and allow it to drift on by like a little horny cloud. And allow it to just, again, kind of disappear into the fucking subconscious or whatever, wherever it came from. Another thing, man, especially these, sexual thoughts or whatever, they kind of propagate from physical reactions in your body, like hormones and shit. So you shouldn't be so hard on yourself and blame yourself for having thoughts like this. It's, again, like I said with my friend, he's a young guy, he's a heterosexual with high testosterone. These things are gonna happen. Acknowledge it, move on. If you linger on too long, you say, hey, listen, you fucking thought, get the fuck out of my head. You're bad, naughty thought. Little fucking bitch. Fuck you, and fuck me for thinking that. Now you've given this thought even more value than it should have had in the first place. You've given it power. If you keep, interacting with this thought, especially negatively, it's gonna grow and grow and grow to the point where maybe it will, go from just a thought to an action. I was watching a documentary recently regarding these preachers or whatever who were preaching against sex for pleasure and stuff like this. Sex should be between a married man and woman, and it should be about procreation, and that's it. And they preach this constantly. But in preaching this constantly to their congregation, they're again, just like if I told you to not think about a door, if I tell you to not think about sex for pleasure, you're thinking about sex for pleasure. They're planting the seeds of that thought into their congregation. You know what I mean? They can't. So now they're thinking about sex more than they would usually. They've given more power to these, what could be some random intrusive thoughts about sex or something. Now have more power than usual. And the ironic thing is that the preachers themselves who are preaching this stuff are the ones who end up having affairs and shit like this. It's almost again, if you ascribe all this negative connotation and linger on these thoughts for too long, it's almost you will them into existence eventually. If you think sex is bad, I can't stop thinking about sex. What the fuck? God dang it! All the time, I can't stop thinking about it. It's a bad thing. I'm a bad person. Sex. you've given that thought so much power that now you're just gonna be like this horny motherfucker who starts like fucking people in your congregation, fucking like underage people. Else like illegal shit was happening too in this documentary, you know. So don't give thoughts power, man. Let them be what they are. They're just thoughts, dude. They only exist in here. They don't exist out here. Okay, until you make them exist out there. So just let them little shits float on by. And don't worry about it, okay? Anyway, just my opinion. Peace.